76-year-old Ellen Gilland, wheeled into the courtroom due to orthopedic issues, will remain behind bars in connection to the shooting death of her husband, Jerry Gilland.
I am going to find that she is a danger to the community based on that behavior, so I'm denying the motion. A law in the state of Florida does not allow for a mercy killing. What we've described here today is somebody purchasing a gun or ammunition, taking it into a hospital room with a plan, the plan being to take the life of another person and take her own, ultimately.
This is 76-year-old Ellen Gilland. She lives in Florida. On Thursday, February the 10th, she appeared in court, but she was denied bond, and that was for the premeditated murder of her husband, 77-year-old Jerry Gilland. Ellen shot her terminally ill husband on January the 21st, 2023, inside his hospital room while he lay in the hospital bed. Ellen has been incarcerated since that date. Now, this is a very heartbreaking, sad case all the way around. This shooting was planned out 3 weeks before it was done, and it was planned by both Ellen and her husband Jerry. These two made that pact together. Jerry wanted this to happen, telling Ellen that in the event that he took a turn for the worst while he was in the hospital, but these two wished to leave this world together, as they had been together most all of their lives. The judge was very sympathetic, and she explained how she has no other choice but to go by the laws that are given to her for these crimes, and these crimes being first-degree premeditated murder, of which Ellen freely admitted to doing, and then another 3 counts of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon without intent to kill. Ellen was first denied bond last month after her hearing. 3 witnesses were called to testify by the defense in support of Ellen. This was a psychiatrist and 2 of Mr. and Miss Gilland's nieces. The psychiatrist who had interviewed Miss Gilland after her arrest stated that he did not believe that Ellen was a serious threat to himself nor anyone else. He added that Miss Gilland had 0 past legal history and no previous run-ins with the law at all, and this was dating back all the way into her early youth, going on to say that there was nothing that indicated to him at all that she was still suffering from the mental instability that she was suffering from on the day of her crimes.
The shooting caused a lockdown at Advent Health and a 3-hour standoff with police that ended when officers entered the room using a flashbang.
Niece 1, Kathleen, testified that her Aunt Ellen was welcome to come and live with her and her husband in their home if she were to be granted bond.
A loving relationship. They're fun people.
Did you ever witness or had you ever seen Miss Gilland be violent with Jerry Gilland?
Never.
Gilland's family spoke on her behalf in hopes of getting her out of jail on bond.
Niece 2, Beatrice, stated that she had known her aunt and uncle basically her entire life, and that they had always had a very loving relationship, and that she had never known either of them to be violent towards the other. She went on to add that if her aunt were granted bond, that she would voluntarily stay with her and make certain that there were no firearms anywhere around her, as well as making sure that she made it to all of her court dates.
Jerry's brother, Sam Gilland, who also lives in New Smyrna, wanted to make sure that today that Ellen knows how much he loves her and supports her and holds no animosity.
Ellen and Jerry were happily married for 53 years. They both lived in Central Florida for over 60 years. They met while they were both in high school and were high school sweethearts. They married in 1969. They never had any children. Ellen earned her master's degree, and she was a school teacher until her retirement in 2013. Today she has medical conditions of osteoarthritis, osteoporosis, as well as she is a 2-time breast cancer survivor, first being in 1979 and then again in 2018. Prosecution said that Ellen Gilland admitted to purchasing the gun as well as the ammunition, adding that she clearly did love her husband. She went on to admit that this case was very troubling, and Miss Gilland's actions did pose a threat to everyone at the hospital that day by bringing a loaded weapon into a public facility and discharging it, as well as pointing the weapon at others and going on to discharge it a second time. Prosecution only called up one witness during the hearing, and that being the Daytona Beach police detective that was over the case. The detective said that he did review the body camera footage, adding that inside the hospital room there was a box of 45 live rounds of ammunition discovered, as well as there was an additional 140 rounds that were located inside Miss Gilland's vehicle, along with a hunting knife. He went on to say that on the day of the shooting, Mr. Gilland's condition was only showing his blood pressure being elevated, but there was no other medical issues being noted. He went on to say that the RN told him that when he had heard a loud bang come from Jerry Gilland's room and he went to check on the patient, Ellen pointed the gun at him and told him she would shoot him too if he did not leave the room.
Police say the two had planned for Jerry to beat a shooter, but he was too weak to pull the trigger.
But she was the one that held the gun to his head while he held on to her wrist.
When police made their way into the hospital room, the detective said that officers were heard saying that Miss Gilland had pointed the gun directly at them, at which point officers exited the room and waited for the SWAT team to arrive. Miss Gilland kept the .38 revolver pointed at the hospital room door while talking with the officers outside the door.
Gun! Drop the gun right now! Drop the gun! Drop the gun! You got any eyes, old Star? What's that? You got any eyes? I can't see. She's sitting right behind the bed. Yeah, she's on the other side of the bed. Oh, I think it's a black revolver. I'm saying a visitor. Drop the gun! Drop the gun! Drop the gun! Just drop it. Just put it on the ground and slide it away from you. Drop the gun! No. I got you. You can't open from the outside. Hey, here. Yes. You want to practice open with this? Can you open it from the outside? Yes. Drop the gun! Watch out. We got time. Back up. We got time. We got nothing but time, guys. Can we evacuate some patients from the adjoining rooms? Can we do that or no? Drop the gun, man! I got a good angle right here. Drop the gun! Drop the gun! Man, hold on. You gotta build dialogue. Man, tell me what's going on. Tell me I don't want to hurt you. We don't want to hurt you. Tell me what's going on. Just talk to me. Talk to me. What's going on? Why can't you drop the gun? Why can't you drop the gun?
3 hours later, at 3:05 p.m., SWAT made entry into the room and they deployed a flash bang, and they attempted 2 failed shots at Miss Gilland with the stun gun. The weapon that Miss Gilland was holding was discharged into the ceiling above where the SWAT team were standing. During the cross-examination from the defense, the detective said that he was aware of the Gilland's plan to take their own lives, as well as he was aware that Jerry Gilland had loaded the gun himself and that Ellen held the gun up to her husband's head while Jerry held her wrist, so she would follow through with their plan that they had put together 3 weeks prior. Jerry was fatally shot in the left side of his head behind his ear. Ellen was then to take the gun and turn it on herself afterwards, but she could not bring herself to follow through with it. Defense asked the judge to grant Miss Gilland a $50,000 bond with the conditions that she remain with her family and have no access to any firearms, adding that Ellen had spent almost all of her life in the area. These were high school sweethearts, and she had no history at all of violence and was not a threat at all to herself or anyone else. Assistant State Attorney Heath Trigones had asked that Miss Gilland remain held without bond, arguing that she did indeed pose a danger to the community.
She didn't just kill her husband and walk out of the room. She made a choice to stay there with a loaded gun and point it at people.
that was dangerous.
Gilland allegedly told law enforcement she killed her husband because he was terminally ill, that she planned to kill herself but couldn't do it, and thought about suicide by cop.
Miss Gilland was wheeled out of the courtroom in her wheelchair, her right wrist still handcuffed to the chair. She did not appear to show any reaction at all to the judge's ruling of denying her bail. Miss Gilland is scheduled to appear for arraignment on February the 14th, Valentine's Day.